So we thought we would talk a little bit about how we got into the yachting industry about 20 years ago.
More than 20 years. We've been out of it 20 years.
Yeah. 24 years ago?
Oh, nearly 30 years ago. So, well, there you go. It's a good benchmark because I'm now 67 and I was turning 40.
Yes, okay.
So there's your benchmark. So sitting on the couch one night, I said to Angela, I'd like to actually buy a yacht. We had made a little bit of money out of our little business, set aside what to do with it, wanted to buy a little yacht and learn to sail. She said,
actually, you said, let's buy a yacht and go cruising. And I thought, wow, my husband has gone completely crazy. He must be having a midlife crisis, because there was no ways I was going cruising with two very hyperactive little children.
In their early teens.
No, how old were they?
Well, anyway, they were in, one was in junior school, one was in high school.
Yeah.
Kind of, let's put it that way. So
there was just no ways.
So anyway, I took Angela down every weekend to the marina in Durban, South Africa, for those who don't know, and got her used to the idea, and she said, this looks like fun.
It was nice to go down to the marina on a Saturday morning.
On a lovely day.
On a lovely day, yeah, it looked like paradise.
So we did. We bought a little 28-foot sailboat.
Sea-turn.
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 And we didn't have enough money to actually join a sailing school at the time. But the sailing industry is such, as you all know, people are very friendly and helpful, and so we had a couple of scary moments on our own boat by ourselves, and people started inviting us onto their boats, and so that's how we got into it. And it was not long after that there was a boat parked adjacent to us called Rosy Dry. It was a Morgan 31, a Lavranis Morgan 31. Beautiful boat, this guy.
It was very pretty.
Very pretty boat.
Yeah.
And maybe Angela will post a picture of that on this video to show you what she looked like. And she always admired it. Anyway, it got to a stage where we said we need to upgrade to something larger. And as the weekend we sold our little boat, the owner walked down and said, mine's for sale. And it was like made to order for us. And so we bought it. We had exactly the right amount of money and we bought her. And we had great fun on that boat. Full keel boat. Reversed like a bitch. Would not reverse easy because of the full keel. Anyway, always went the wrong way. Astern. Sitting on that boat one day, and it actually was a public holiday called Women's Day.
9th of August.
And Angela said to me, I'm going to open my own business. Because at this stage, Angela was working half days for me in my business, doing my books and paperwork, and said I was a lousy boss. Anyway, so I said, what do you want to do? So she is opening a yacht brokerage. I said, boy, go for it. Almost instantly. I said, when? She said, today. And she went walking on the walk-on with a clipboard and started making notes of all the boats. And this is long before internet. Internet had only just started. Only just starting. Cell phones, you didn't have cell phones, all these fancy.
No cell phones.
Well, you had cell phone, but it was a little button. You could phone somebody with a number.
No digital cameras.
No digital cameras. It was
The
still
film
the
had
good
to
old,
still
had to be
developed.
developed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Angela went off and she started. And instantly.
Actually, the marina manager at the time, his name was Dick King. he was very, very helpful, and he allowed me to put a notice in with a newsletter or the mooring fees for the month. I can't remember, but I was allowed to put an advert in with those envelopes that were posted out to people, and that's how I started.
That's true. That kick-started it.
Would you like to list your boat with Angela Collins?
Yes, and she called it Angela Collins Yachts at the time. And so it instantly took off, because at the time there was only one other brokerage. They'd been in the business forever. They didn't have a good reputation. They bullied people. We're not going to mention names, but they bullied people, and then they tried to bully Angela. But anyway, that's another story all on its own.
Yeah.
The point is, Angela then, this yacht brokerage really did do very well, and she was having so much fun running around the marina in a pair of shorts and tackies, and I was running around my little business, greased up and oily, and so slowly I sold part of my business, and anyway, finally sold it and joined Angela. So we won't go down that road.
Of course, you were having to help me on weekends
on
anyway.
Weekends,
when I was busy, you were having to help.
That's right.
And you did give me lots of advice as well.
So the two of us have always worked well as a team. And so finally, Angela said, I am so tired of selling all these old boats. I would like to sell new boats. And there's no new designs. Nobody had designed a monohull in South Africa since the 70s.
With one exception.
Which was that?
The
FOS 42.
The FOS 42.
A yacht called a FOS 42. Yeah. However, we did become a broker for them, as well as we became a broker for a few catamaran manufacturers at the time. And that was enjoyable, working with new boats. So, Angela, will you tell the story about what you did?
So, it had to be Angela Lavranis. There just was, the naval architect. There just was no other choice for me. And so we contacted him, and we thought perhaps there was already a Lavranis 36, so let's go just slightly bigger to 37 foot, and we asked Lavranis to design us a 37 foot fast cruising boat, and yeah, that happened.
I think part of the success, or the reason for the 37 foot, which we called the Blue Bay 37, Angela will post a few pictures of that boat, that was because Lavranis had designed two very good boats. Well, he'd done many, many good boats, but two particular ones of the time, of that era of the late 70s, 80s, was the L36, which is what Goblet is today. We've bought an old boat that's 40 odd years old, or nearly 40 years old, and that was they were a huge success. There was about 50 made at that time, and the L34s, which were very, very popular as well. The L34,
the sailing schools.
There's most of the sailing schools, but besides that, many others. Yeah.
And the Holiday 34.
And the Holiday 34. I think the difference between those two, one had a tiller, and the Holiday 34 was more of a cruising boat, had a wheel.
Yeah.
So Angela commissioned Angela Lavranis to design a brand new monohull sailboat cruiser, which he did, and that is the Blue Bay 37. And so we built the molds. Here's the story. We sold our house.
We had to sell Rosie
We had
Dry
to sell Rosie Dry
to finance the factory.
to finance the factory, to finance the building of the plug, which is what you make the mold out of, then to lay up boats. And at that time, now we're going back, as I said, we're going back 27, 28 years, something 28 years, something like that, 27 years. That mold set us in. Building the plug and building the mold took a year, and that set us in at R1 million back then. And that was, everything we owned was in that. So, fortunately, we got an order before the mold was even made. Thank goodness for that. It was going to be the first boat. She came out beautiful. Livranos came to see it. Unfortunately, I think, did he test sail it?
He test sailed it with Dave Cox and Dave Alcock.
Oh, okay.
Came with us on that test sail.
So, she performed beautifully.
There wasn't a lot of wind.
Yeah, that day.
That day.
It was a good swell. She surfed well. She glided through the water. It was a really beautiful boat. But at the same time in the factory, we felt we needed to make a catamaran for certain markets. And we were fortunate enough to meet two guys who had the molds for the Parley 40 catamaran, which was an Alexander Simonis design. It wasn't a Livranos design. And we built, so together we built the Blue Bay and the Parley 40 catamarans. We had this factory, we had about 30 staff. It built up over the period to about 30 staff.
We had a huge old factory.
Old factory.
It had
leaky roof,
broken windows.
Broken windows, which was great because all the fiberglass dust got out of the factory.
We had pigeons pooping on the boat.
We had pigeons. We had holes in the roof. It rained and dripped on anyway. And we eventually had to take in a partner because finances, cash flow was tight. And that did not go well. Sadly, that did not go well. However, we traveled twice a year to the United States. I can't remember at what ends of the years each are. One, you got the Miami Boat Show and you got the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show. And we traveled twice a year to the boat shows to push our sales for the catamarans at that time. That is the market. And we did, fortunately, our first sale on the catamaran was an American who came out, him and his wife, spent a few months out here having an extended holiday. They had retired and they sailed it back with a delivery skipper back through the Caribbean back to Florida. So that was exciting. There were a few others made, but however, sadly, the story, if you've ever heard of a hostile takeover, well, this partner we brought in was not allied to the industry. In fact, very far from the industry, more into accounting and finance. And he loved the thought of owning his own factory with these boats. He knew nothing about boats. He did not know how to sail, nothing. However, him and his girlfriend, while we were at the Miami Boat Show, sent us an email saying, we must leave.
Yeah, he wants us out.
He wants us out. In actual fact, he locked us out of the banking. I like to check banking every day. It's just a habit of mine, always being in business, and as well as emails, of course. And I was locked out. Anyway, left us stranded in the United States.
He actually declared our credit cards stolen. So
our company credit cards
company
stolen.
credit cards, yeah.
Yeah, so when you see an advert, I think it's a rum advert, and you see a pirate bashing through the back window of the aft captain's cabin and a big sword fight enduring, and
something about a hostile takeover.
And it says hostile takeover, no lawyers. Well, however, this was a hostile takeover and there was lawyers.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you truthfully, for months, more than 6 months, I used to go to that factory an hour before all the staff arrived. So I was in that factory at like 5:45 in the morning. Staff started at 7. And I used to go, oh my goodness, get me out of this thing.
I can't take anymore.
People say they've got a tiger by the tail. Well,
yeah,
we had a bloody dragon by the tail. However, so when this happened, we said, let's fight it to get some money out, and let's fight it like we had a very good attorney.
Yeah.
We had a very good attorney who had been with us for years.
He was a marine attorney.
Marine attorney.
But we won't mention.
We won't mention. We're not going to mention names in this story because it's just our story.
Yeah.
And he said, let's pretend you want it desperately still. So he was very clever. So he said, look, man, the business owes a lot of money. You need to make a lot of sales. So if you want out, now's your time. And Angela said, yeah, let's get out. So with his greed, we played that card with the attorneys against his attorney who thought he was so smart. He signed personal sureties. We got out with, okay, only a third of what we'd ever put in, but that was fine. And we had to sign a restraint of trade, which meant we couldn't go back for 2 years or not even work in the industry, not even as a salesperson for another company if it related to the yachting industry. And so, however, our kids being off our hands, we sold all our furniture. We had already sold our house previously to build the molds and so on and put it into the factory. So we bought a Land Rover, kitted her out, fully kitted out for camping, I mean long-term camping. And we had a great 2 years of safari all over Southern Africa. Angela and I, the kids had gone their own ways and their own little adventures of their own. And during that period, we landed up in the safari industry. And that's where we've been for 20 years. And that's another story all on its own. That'll be another episode on our safari adventures. And so here, after 20 years, we finally decided, and we hunted for a year for a suitable boat, suitable to fit the financial pocket as well, of course. But we wanted an L36. And they never come up for sale because they're bulletproof. Even though they're old. And Goblet, who we own now, Angela's already made a story on Goblet and her achievements and racing, and even though they're not racing boats, however, they're just strong. And so we're busy restoring her. She hopefully will be in the, she's already in the water, but she'll be sailing within a month. So look forward to showing you that. And stay tuned. Thank you for listening. What do you have to say? Okay.
See you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time.